Corley Miller, what is colonial discourse? So, out of the four images that we looked at, I saw this big racist ass one. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. This one talks about education. And I feel like that's where the biggest amount of colonial discourse takes place. So, out of the four images, I feel like Uncle Sam forcing a Eurocentric education on the other nations is very much what colonial discourse is. There is a lot to dissect, and what this picture is saying to us is that white America has taken on this burden of educating and ascending these savage nations, and our retaliation and our resistance to it is akin to that of a spoilt and ungrateful child. The fact that they are referring to these people as children too is just so insulting. And on the blackboard, it talks about how not waiting for consent is what brought England to glory, and by asking for consent slows down progress. So, if you take a closer look, I was actually able to write down what it says on this blackboard. The consent of the governed is good in theory, but not in fact. England has governed her colonies, whether they consented or not. By not asking for their consent, she has greatly advanced the world's civilization. The U.S. must govern their territories with or without their consent until they can govern themselves. If they'll allow us to govern ourselves, but that's a different fight. So what they are saying is Mother England did this to us and it worked, so therefore we must do it to the rest of the world. We are the adults. We have the knowledge, or at least knowledge that is worth knowing, and we have taken it upon ourselves to help you be like us. Also, the placement of the school children also tells us where colored people fit in this weird hierarchy that he's got going here. Where Puerto Rico, the Philippines, Cuba, and Hawaii look to be like their little colonization project, whereas Native Boy in the background is portrayed as stupid. His book is upside down, and he's sitting by himself. China is late, and the black kid doesn't even get to learn anything. He's like, boy, I sure do love washing windows. That's saying that he is just like the bottom of the rung. And it is this type of education system that determines what is worth knowing, what is considered valuable to our society, who is considered valuable to our society. And everything else is portrayed as a reminder that anything that does not fall within our colonial value system is considered unfortunate, primitive, or in need of God. And so Du Bois and Macaulay saw this firsthand, where in Macaulay, the Indian education, he learned that the language of Arabic and Sanskrit were not languages of educated native. And the 1813 Committee of Public Instruction pick and chose a curriculum deemed valuable, and have this education was seen as damaging as it ended in a loss of language, a loss of essential skills such as farming and self-sustenance, loss of identity, and it created more reliance on the government. Du Bois, though, demanded education, land, and for one to be the master of his home. So he wants to give people the skills to survive and thrive in a colonial world. And finally, with Miracle Lee, she is tired of teachers telling her children who they are, and in continuing to create a curriculum of half-truths. So for us, especially in my community too, education is valuable. You need it if you're to use a tool to I guess, beat the system at its own game. You get educated, you get the good job, you revitalize your language and your culture with these new tools, and then rule the world. I don't know. But for me, I feel like our education system is very much it's the core of where a lot of our problems are coming from. And a lot more could be done to make it better. All right. So that's like almost 6 minutes, but yeah. But yeah, I know what colonial discourse is. It's that. Bye.